For the past week, beginning with the stunning and monumentally stupid ambush of American ally Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office by the President and Vice President of the United States, Republicans, their right-wing media echo chamber, and even some other members of the press have been treating this clash as a difference of opinion on foreign policy. Frankly, and because this is a family show, let's just say that's crap. This is not a difference of opinion on foreign policy. What we're seeing is an administration, for reasons neither beneficial nor precedential to the United States and its allies, upend and cast aside 80 years of geopolitical world order that has kept large-scale multinational wars a thing of the past. And seemingly on cue, an emboldened Russia, led by murderous invader Vladimir Putin, escalated its attacks on Ukraine. Late yesterday and early today, Vladimir Putin's military hit critical infrastructure, including power and fuel facilities. In a video released today, President Zelensky said Russia launched both cruise and ballistic missiles, as well as attack drones. Ukraine's ability to anticipate and respond to these attacks is actually hampered right now because of the White House. Reporting from Kyiv, Time magazine senior correspondent Simon Schuster, a frequent guest on this program, writes this, quote, "The U.S. decision to suspend the flow of military intelligence to Ukraine this week has aided the Russian advance along a critical part of the front, weakening the negotiating position of President Volodymyr Zelensky and killing many Ukrainian soldiers in recent days." According to 5 senior Western and Ukrainian officials and military officers familiar with the situation, quote, "As a result of this pause, there are hundreds of dead Ukrainians," one of the officers told Time in an interview on Friday in Kyiv, asking not to be named when discussing sensitive military operations. "The biggest problem is morale," he added, as the armed forces of Ukraine are being left to fight without some of their best weapon systems, not as a result of Russian attacks, but American pullbacks. It's really causing an advantage for the enemy on the front line. That's not a foreign policy dispute. That's the President of the United States, quote, "really causing an advantage for the enemy on the front line," end quote. And simultaneously, according to Politico, quote, 4 senior members of Donald Trump's entourage have held secret discussions with some of Kyiv's top political opponents to Volodymyr Zelensky, just as Washington aligns with Moscow in seeking to lever the Ukrainian president out of his job. The senior Trump allies held talks with Ukrainian opposition leader Yulia Tymoshenko, a remorselessly ambitious former prime minister, and senior members of the party of Petro Poroshenko, Zelensky's immediate predecessor as president, according to 3 Ukrainian parliamentarians and a U.S. Republican foreign policy expert, end quote. Causing an advantage for Ukraine's invading enemy and meeting with the political opposition to Volodymyr Zelensky. It's impossible to overstate how far past normal the foreign policy doctrine of Donald Trump's second term is shaping up to be. Today, Donald Trump said he is, quote, "strongly considering new sanctions and tariffs on Russia after its latest assault on Ukraine." But Donald Trump says a lot of things, often things directly contradicting other things that Donald Trump has just said. So for now, we're going to focus a lot more on what he's doing. And since last Friday's fight in the Oval Office, the things he's doing are hurting Ukraine and helping Vladimir Putin. Joining us now is Congressman Adam Smith, Democrat of Washington State. He's the ranking Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, good to see you in person. You're often a very regular guest for us, and we appreciate that, particularly early in the weekend mornings. Let's talk about this. This war between Russia and Ukraine has in many cases been a war of attrition. Slow moves here and there, slow advances by Ukraine, certain setbacks, but they have depended on certain things from us. Military equipment, materiel, and intelligence. In fact, the intelligence has probably been the most important part of it. We just suddenly stopped that. We stopped giving them certain intelligence. That's going to make it a lot easier for Russia to make advances in Ukraine and to weaken the Ukrainian resolve.
Absolutely. Look, the effect of what Donald Trump has done is to empower Putin and Russia, weaken Ukraine, and crucially, prolong the war. Because if Putin thinks he's winning, he's going to keep going right to Kyiv.
He doesn't need a ceasefire.
Right. You have to be able to deter him. Now, whether or not Trump's decisions were because he's just not that smart at negotiating, or whether or not it is the darker case that I heard Thomas Friedman make on this network earlier today, that Trump ultimately doesn't care if Putin takes Ukraine. I don't know, but the effect is 100% certain, and it is to empower Putin and prolong the war. Now, Trump and his supporters like to say, look, he just wants to end the war. He wants to get a peace deal. What he's doing is having the exact opposite effect. He's putting all of the pressure on Zelensky, crippling Zelensky, as you just described, while Zelensky's already under enough pressure from Russia, from Putin. And Trump is completely throwing the door open for Putin. Putin's not going to come to the table if Trump's taken all the pressure off of him. So his moves are either idiotic or clearly designed to abandon Ukraine in favor of Putin. Either way, it's a disaster for U.S. credibility and for our global interests, not to mention, of course, for Ukraine and much of Europe.
Yeah, so there's this obsession Donald Trump has with getting paid back. Now, that misses a lot of the point, and that is much of the aid we give Ukraine is spent in the United States. It's armaments, it's foundries that are working 24 hours to provide the stuff that
Actually, that point aside, what we get back is we get what you just described. We got 80 years of peace post World War II.
That's the more important
There's
part.
this perception that we have been so just benevolent to the people of Europe. Look, we are the richest, most powerful nation in the history of the world, and a big part of that is what you said. We have stopped world wars from happening, of course. We have gotten such a return on our investment in Europe that you just wouldn't believe. And if we pull that out and take us back to the 19th century world that Trump envisions, which is nation states fighting each other, we saw how that came out in World War I and World War II and decided, let's try something different. Trump wants to take us back to that brutally might makes right competitive world that ends in disaster.
But it's the same thing he's doing on trade. He'd like to be in individual negotiations with everyone because he thinks the United States is stronger one-on-one than everyone, and he's quite possibly right about that. But that's not how the world has kept relative peace for 80 years. It's not that we've had total peace for 80 years, but we've not had World War III.
But plus, we're not going to be that much stronger for too long if we alienate absolutely every country in the world. The BRICS nations have formed. China, Russia, Argentina, Brazil, they're forming an economic alternative. And the more we punch people like Canada and Mexico and Europe and all of our allies in the face, the more they're going to turn away from us and strengthen other countries because they're going to know we're unreliable. Not just unreliable, but we're actively trying to harm them because somehow Trump perceives that that benefits us, and it really doesn't.